host Ali Akram. आज हमारे साथ एक बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग गेस्ट मौजूद हैं मोहम्मद सियर साहब and I'm very excited to have our session with him because usually we have guests who are focused on a certain segment, a certain startup, certain idea, but I think this particular guest would bring a lot of uh, overview, a lot of experience he brings with himself throughout his career.
Beyond even data,
Okay.
a data provider, to actually starting to look at becoming a service provider. So mobile health, mobile education,
Very interesting.
entertainment, mobile money, all of these kind of things were things we were starting to grapple with. And because they were of strategic nature, they were sitting with my unit to look at. Actually, at one point, thought I'm going to migrate to New Zealand,
Oh.
and myself and the family, we all went there, and we spent a year, a beautiful year, but found it was so far away, cut off from everyone in the world that we are connected with. It wasn't something for us. So we moved back to the Middle East, reach out to you through a push notification and say, hey, I know your passport is expiring in 3 months' time. Would you like me to trigger off your new passport processing? And you swipe right, yes, or swipe left, no. I'll do it in my own time. Swipe right, and then it triggers off the whole process. Maybe there's some verifications that need to be done, new biometrics to be done. You do those things, and eventually you get your passport in your hand, living.
And hopefully, out of that, passports don't expire. Passport expires when you expire.
Yeah. Birth certificates.
Yes.
Why do I need a physical birth certificate or a digital birth certificate? What's the purpose? Why does it exist? It's about a verification, right?
How did that help you? Because even becoming an author was an entrepreneurial endeavor in a way. There were things to figure out. It was not just about writing. It's producing, printing, distributing. Did you think of all of that before you went into it, or?
No, to be honest, when I started on the journey of writing the book, it was, as I explained earlier, it was not a intended journey in the beginning, and it became. And I would say that it's been a tremendous learning experience as well.
Assalamu alaikum Nazeen and Sameen. Welcome to Pace Podcast by Hub 47 here from Pakistan Association Dubai. This is your host Ali Akram. आज हमारे साथ एक बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग गेस्ट मौजूद हैं मोहम्मद सियर साहब and I'm very excited to have our session with him because usually we have guests who are focused on a certain segment, a certain startup, certain idea, but I think this particular guest would bring a lot of uh, overview, a lot of experience he brings with himself throughout his career, and he can give us a very top-down view on that. Mohammed Saab, welcome to Pace Podcast. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. So let's start off with a brief background about yourself. I think it's very important to bring perspective to that so that
Sure.
we can understand how we can benefit from your experiences.
So maybe I start with a bit of a background from an educational perspective, how I started off my life. I actually did my undergrad in economics and statistics, and found that that's not really my passion or interest, although I really took a lot of value from it, and it's helped me a lot in my later part in my career and life. I then pivoted towards wanting to really focus on public good and public sector in particular. And talking about earlier, of course, I was born in the UK, so I had that opportunity to then do my master's over there, which was as a MBA, and particularly during my career, because I did it as an exec rather than focus after the undergrad. I went to a working life, and then I decided to look at building my leadership capabilities through some of the institutions that really offer great training and development in that space. Harvard Kennedy School of Government being one of the main ones which I have repeatedly spent time with to build my leadership skills because of, we'll talk about my career and it'll make sense why I went into that. And also Oxford University as well on the public sector policy side, etc. And MIT on some of the more disruptive spaces and areas.
Really interesting.
And of course, learning never stops, right? So it, for me, education or learning is not a destination, it's a journey. And it continues all your life. Even today, I'm spending almost, I would say, on a weekly basis, maybe 20 hours there or thereabouts on trying to discover some new stuff and keep on myself relevant and to today, and look at being able to contribute to the world.
Has that gone up over time? 20 hours is the requirement because things are moving very fast these days.
So I think it's what's happened, especially, and we'll talk, I'm sure, about the whole AI phenomena. That has actually given speed to learning.
Yes.
And rather than having to spend 20 hours and maybe learning, I'm just using as an example, hypothesis-wise, 10 things, in the same 20 hours, you can learn maybe 100 things. So I've not reduced the time, but I've increased the volume of learning, if that makes sense.
Yes.
And then, of course, after doing my core education, I started my career in the UK civil service as a public servant and had really great opportunity to explore many different things. Always has been something that is innovative. It's never been a desktop job, like you're sitting and working in any particular space and spending time. It's always being initiative driven, project driven, something of that nature. And that's kind of molded my own self and my career.
Was that a product of just your nature, that you were more attracted to such roles, or was that just luck?
Yeah,
as well?
I think partly was that it became, I would say, it became more tuned to becoming my nature. But again, if we were to sort of psychoanalyze oneself, then I think you would have deep down had that inclination to do such things versus being a very steady one job, routine driven, right? Yeah. So I've always enjoyed challenges, solving big problems. Even today, one of the hardest thing for me to do is to not jump into solving a challenge. And when you grow in your career into a leadership position, one of the things that you have to forego is that you roll up your sleeves and dive in, because you are now trying to solve those challenges through many others versus doing it yourself. Yeah, and that's been like a learning for me as well. And it's you have to figure out how and where to put the balance. It doesn't mean I shy away from challenges, and I still do, but I have to pick my battles. I can't do everything.
Yes.
It seems very interesting. I really want to get into this. None of done it before. It'll be lovely to learn how to solve that challenge, but I need to refrain, because if otherwise I will be swamped with just the doing part and not thinking strategically and driving and leading.
And I often, this is a challenge faced by most, even startup founders and entrepreneurs, where the beginning of their journey is they have to be a jack of all trades. They have to get 100%. Into everything. And as they scale, become an enterprise, this is where many people fail as well, because they're not able to focus on. And I would be very interested to understand, was it easy to let go for you? Because when you're in that position, and obviously you're more knowledgeable and probably more efficient at solving a particular problem, and it's kind of a you almost develop an OCD kind of a thing, that you have to do it yourself to become a perfectionist.
Right.
Were you that, or was it easy for you to let go and empower?
Yeah, I think personally, as a nature, I would say, and inclination is wanting to talk about the big picture, looking at the strategic context and trying to solve it from a big picture solution perspective. I never was someone who wants to get down into the roots and ABCD, the nuts and bolts of things. But I had to do it. I had to train myself to do that because if I am going to lead something, if I don't understand the depth of it, then I can't lead it. But I would do it once or twice or three times, really to build the capability, to sense awareness of myself, versus wanting to do it forever.
Yes.
And I can give you an example when we come talk about the startup and similar kind of, lessons I've had to take forward and start to work with those now. And it's helping me because by coincidence or by nature, I've been more of a strategic thinker, as a strategist, versus being a pure doer. But I am also able to get on the doing side as well. So, being able to know when you need to step back and when you need to go deep, I think is a blessing, because that drives you to actually create systems that are self-sustainable, yes, versus systems that are dependent on an individual. I hate the individual built systems, and I always try to make myself redundant. If I can make myself redundant in that organizational system, it means I've created the system that is sustainable and dependent on its own self versus an individual person.
I'll ask one follow-up question just to round off this, because I'm very intrigued by this scenario. Are you always able to find people to execute that strategy?
That is the biggest challenge. Yeah. And of course, all of us have to grapple with that. Even myself, I'm sure that others may think, he's not the right person for the job, or he's not the right person for doing that particular task. Alhamdulillah, I've never had that said to me, but you're always curious about that. What is important for me, and always has been, is hire people or find people that have the right attitude. Attitude you cannot train on. It is an innate nature of someone. Skills you can train for. Capabilities, inclination, some people are more creative, some people are more analytical, some people are more strategic. Those things will come with you, and you need to, as a leader, understand when and how to use them. So you need to create a right mix of capabilities for success. So therefore, coming to your question, is it easy to find the best person for the job? No, it's not, but it is an experiment you go through. And over time, you become quite tuned to finding the right people. And that's why if I can find the right attitude in a person, the motivation is right, is positive, you can help train them, you can help develop them, but they need to themselves be wanting to do that versus being forced to do that. It's not, I wouldn't say it's a science or an art. I think it's a combination of the two.
Perfect, thank you. Let's carry on with the journey.
So started with the public sector in the UK. Spent around about 12 years with the UK government. And then I had the opportunity to move to the Middle East, which I then, came out over here with a boutique strategy firm, which focused on many things, but telecommunication and public sector was one of their main focus areas. And we then started to look at building this region because it was a newish organization. And it really helped me to anchor myself and understand the region. That was in 2000.
Yeah.
So 25 years ago. And I would say that in between, I did experiment or explore some other things. Like I went back to the UK for a period of time. I actually, at one point, thought I'm going to migrate to New Zealand,
Oh.
and myself and the family, we all went there, and we spent a year, a beautiful year, but found it was so far away, cut off from everyone in the world that we are connected with. It wasn't something for us, so we moved back to the Middle East. And in that period when I moved back into actually a telco, which was in Kuwait. It took me from the consulting side. That was a switch over to working on the functional side of the client side, so to speak, from a consulting language perspective. And that was itself quite amazing and interesting. And it triggered something that then has stuck with me for the rest of my career. And my pivot in my career has been because of that intervention. And one of the things that I was responsible for was looking at how we can use customer experience, not just as a tool of we need to give good customer experience and be on par with the competitors, but how do we use it as a technique, as a tool to differentiate ourselves from the competitors and use that as a way to increase our revenue, top line and bottom line. And that drove me to really deep dive into the whole customer experience side of things and how this technique can be used. And we did some very amazing things. I was heading up the portfolio program and project management office, which basically at an enterprise level was responsible for the activation of the strategy.
Yes.
But of course, working very closely with the strategy function and the other functions, but reporting and working with the CEO to activate the strategy and manage the strategy, and to lead some of the strategic programs that were there. So customer experience was one of the programs that I personally led because it was so strategic for us. Our network modernization, those were the days when we were starting to look at LTE and moving to that. How do you modernize and how do you capture value from that? Is it the right time or not the right time? And then looking at even the move of the whole industry from being a voice provider and a data provider, beyond even data, a data provider, to actually starting to look at becoming a service provider. So mobile health, mobile education, entertainment, mobile money, all of these kind of things were things we were starting to grapple with. And because they were of strategic nature, they were sitting with my unit to look at their exploration and activation and driving it. Of course, the ownership was sitting with the business from a commercial perspective. And then, of course, looking at the complete organization from a perspective of, is it operating efficiently? So that drove us to look at, we had what we call a cost optimization program, but really to try and understand, is the marketing function, for example, operating at the right percentage cost as compared to its, let's say, leaders in the telecommunication organization? So like for like comparisons between all of the different functions, and then trying to drive that through a set of initiatives, but more importantly, activating something which was new to the region, which is benefits realization. So typically we do projects, not programs in the region. And at that time, particularly, I'm talking about.
Very interesting. This was when data was not easy to get by, right?
Exactly. So you're trying to sort of, drive and bring efficiencies and create insights for leadership to make decisions, because at the end of the day, decisions are made on insights.
Yes.
And if the better the insight, technically better the decision, right?
So I'm curious to know, how does it work with government and when it comes to digital transformation? Usually, if you have existing actors who are trying to improve a process, it's more of incremental thinking. It's old thinking. It's trying to apply solutions to a problem, but not really fixing the process. Whereas someone with an outside view, with a digital native thinking, would kind of try to address it in a different way, more disruptive way, and really reimagine the process from a why. Think about the why more, or the
100,
objective more.
100%.
Mm.
Yeah. And this is one of the core, I can say, themes of my book is reimagining versus the conventional transformation method that is applied.
Mm.
And I'll explain what I mean by that. And then we come back to whether governments are able to do that or are doing that.
Mm.
So imagine the passport as a product. You and I both use it, and we've gone through the process of applying for a passport and getting a passport. So, and most audience also would probably have some inclination of applying for a passport.
Yes.
So imagine how that is being transformed. Conventionally, the starting point would be, how do we make the application process easier online through maybe an app? So a digital application. Even in there, I'm not going to split hairs, because what truly is digital versus how sometimes it is made online is not truly digital. It's just taking what it is and maybe putting a PDF form or something there, or a form there to fill. So let's put that aside for a second and say that we're going to transform this. So the application process is the first part of it. The second part is, once the application is submitted, there is a processing of that application. How can you use digital technologies or digital era technologies to process that? And then the third part is the actual product itself. What can we do with the product? How can we make it maybe smarter, tamper-proof, readable, etc., etc.?
Yes.
And the last part is getting it into your hands, right? So you can say there are 4 core elements of this journey. We can, of course, even move to what I call proactive, which is, I know that your passport is expiring as a government in 3 months' time, and I can reach out to you through a push notification and say, hey, I know your passport is expiring in 3 months' time. Would you like me to trigger off your new passport processing? And you swipe right, yes, or swipe left, no. I'll do it in my own time. Swipe right, and then it triggers off the whole process. Maybe there's some verifications that need to be done, new biometrics to be done. You do those things, and eventually you get your passport in your hand, maybe before the expiry of the other one. Wouldn't that be amazing as an experience? Yeah.
True.
I can even move towards what I call predictive, where I know the passport is not expiring till maybe 2 years, but because you're doing so much travel, I'm predicting that maybe you've run out of pages. And
Right.
I go through the same push notification and say, hi, I understand that your passport is not expiring, but because you've been doing so much travel, maybe you run out of pages. And all of this will be an amazing transformation of its own, right?
Yes.
But for me, this is still applying the conventional thinking to transformation. What I'm proposing is reimagining. And that starts with something that you put your finger on, which is asking the why question. So how I would address this same problem and challenge would be, ask the question, why does a passport exist? Answer that question first. And the core purpose for why a passport exists is to enable travel.
Yes.
And then ask the second question, which is, how can I enable travel in this digital age I am living in? You and I will both come to the same conclusion that we don't need a passport anymore.
True.
Passports have passed their sell-by date. We need to really look at the change on the business model side, operating model side, versus passport transformation of a service, because you and I have become the passport. Facial recognitions, biometrics, all these technologies is enabling to recognize people.
Yes.
We live in Dubai. You and I go in and out of Dubai. pretty much we're doing that without a passport.
Yes.
But when we get to another border, we cannot do that.
Mm.
So what does that tell you? That you don't need a passport to get into Dubai if you are a resident of Dubai or you are a citizen of Dubai.
Mm.
You don't need a passport to leave Dubai if you are a resident or a citizen, because you have either facial recognition there, to let you in and out.
Mm.
You still carry it because obviously it's sometimes you have some challenges with that. But so you don't need a passport. So what's the problem to solve for is not a better application process, a better processing of the application of the passport and a better passport. Is actually how do you shift towards individuals becoming the passport?
Mm.
And how do you shift to the data being shared between different countries in a secure, safe way so they can recognize you when you enter a particular country? And if you have the right to enter that country, it allows you to be there. So this is moving towards borderless model of living.
And hopefully out of that, passports don't expire. Passport expires when you expire.
Yeah. But I use this as an example to really bring to life the concept of reimagining. And if we take this approach, you will make big leapfrogs in transforming the way you operate government, operate even a business. We are often not asking this question. We're just saying digital equals technology, or digital means I need to have a website, I need to have an app, versus questioning the core product itself, whether it should exist or not. And then going on a journey to becoming digital, or what I basically talk about, and that's why in the title it's about becoming digital nations, reimagining countries for the digital era. I see digital as a bigger play than just technology. I see this about answering this big question: how do I survive and thrive as a country, as a government, as a business in the digital era I'm living in today? So it becomes your strategy. There is no difference for me between a digital strategy and a business strategy. They are one of the same things because it's answering a question of survival and thriving. Now, coming back to your question of whether governments are the right organs to make this step change, in this region and other parts of the world, there is tremendous transformation happening, innovation happening through experimenting, but also by accepting that we need to really think differently. But I have not found still any country that is close to what I would call as a reimagining. I see direction towards that. It's not easy also because, it means potentially getting rid of the whole passport office or function, jobs at...
They need to be repurposed, let's say.
Yeah, exactly. They need to be repurposed and stuff like that. So, but is it possible? Now, let me bring it to a different example to show how it could be possible with less, let's say, challenge or risk, because a passport it requires many different countries to also adopt into this new business model and operating model. Birth certificates.
Yes.
Why do I need a physical birth certificate or a digital birth certificate? What's the purpose? Why does it exist? It's about verification, right? So why shouldn't governments move from this mindset of I need to create a birth certificate to, if you have the data, the registry is there, the register of births is there, I need to build a service on top of that, which is verification service. And for many things that we have, whether it's educational certificates, whether it's birth certificates, whether it's other elements that are being provided by government, where someone needs to verify that, the government could create a verification model that verifies. And you don't need to create necessarily a digital birth certificate or a physical birth certificate. Maybe for nostalgic reasons, you still want to have someone wants to, create a digital birth certificate or a physical one, but it's more for nostalgic reasons than the need for it.
Yeah.
Because through verification, you can be able to even integrate.
Hmm.
You don't even need to ask for verification. If you're opening a bank account, the way integration could happen with government is that, and as you're going to open a bank account,
Hmm.
and the behind scenes, these verifications are happening without even anyone lifting a finger. The
Hmm.
bank just triggers off the process.
Uh,
So one of the concepts I talk about in the book is moving to this model of what I call one click,
Hmm.
zero filling of forms, and zero documents providing and getting service.
Hmm.
So one click service provisioning. Is it possible? Absolutely. Is it possible in all cases? Probably not. But in many cases, I shouldn't have to go and keep giving documents and information and filling forms when that is sitting with a government agency already.
Hmm.
It's about creating the ecosystem and connectivity for
Hmm.
this service provisioning to happen in a seamless way, which I call autonomous governance.
Hmm.
And I think we are moving in that direction.
Two things came to mind. I think one thing that really fascinated me is almost, while you were questioning the existence of birth certificate, almost felt like situations where I ask my son to do things and he says, why?
Yeah.
Why am I doing this? Why do I have to learn to write, Baba? you know, can't I just type it? Can't I just narrate
Or
it?
speak.
Speak.
Yeah, like we get into conversational AI, right? So,
Yes.
and frankly, one of the things, again, I talk about in the book is that we potentially will get to a point where there will be no website.
Hmm.
There will just be what I call meta-human
Hmm.
AI, meta-human, who you will have a conversation with, and you will say, "I'm here to provide you service," and it could actually be the meta-human, could be even the prime minister of the time.
Hmm.
So you're having a conversation with the prime minister, saying, "You know what? I need to do A, B, C, D," and after that, the whole journey is curated for you, versus you having to go click, search, do this information. It will become conversational because as human beings, we prefer to have conversations.
Hmm.
And these have been barriers in front
Hmm.
of us. And can we serve a 10 million or 100 million population by conversations with real people? Of course not, because it requires many people to be at hand to do that. But can we do it in the AI age we are living in now? Yes, it is absolutely possible, and
Hmm.
as close to being as human as possible.
Hmm. I think you've taken me to my next question as well. For all this to happen, and you've segmented that, you framed that very well through your segmentation of digital economy, digital governance, digital. Um, uh, all of that works if they're all moving together, right? It can't be. I mean, the passport example. You can do move in and out of Dubai, but you can't move into Pakistan without your physical passport being there within a country as well, unless you have cohesion and I guess a meta strategy around this. It will still take some time.
100%. And I think one of the big things that I see missing in every government that I've studied, I don't see still strategic thinking
Hmm.
on shifting towards becoming the best version for the age we're living in today.
Hmm.
And I'll give you an example. Even we are blessed. We live in Dubai, UAE. It's an amazing experience to live over here. And there's so many simplified processes and stuff.
Hmm.
But that reimagining is missing still.
Hmm.
And I answer that, or let's say my hypothesis is based on there are many examples, but I'll give you one example. KYC.
Hmm.
KYC, the way it works pretty much everywhere in the world, different parts, and no exception over here. And this is another thing I would like to see reimagined. I see in the reimagined model world, I would have done KYC once.
Yes.
and maybe I need to update it, verify it on a whatever frequency basis. But all the information that is being asked for KYC purposes is sitting with a government, by and large. I don't think there is any piece of information that is not there. So why every time I go to open a bank account or do something, I'm asked to do that? Why isn't there a KYC platform, verification platform, or behind the scene connectivity that is there, that is provisioned for that to just be triggered off? There's a rule that you cannot open a bank account unless you have verified the person. The information.
No, absolutely. I mean, there's this thought experiment also going around where if you're using AI for the last couple of years now, just go ahead and ask ChatGPT about who am I.
Yeah,
it will probably give you a
surprisingly tell you a lot. Yeah, interesting.
Probably give you.
It's an interesting mirror, by the way, for you to see what the world knows about you. But this is at a kind of macro level, at a country level. Now go inside the bank. Even the banks, every time you want a product from them, you have to go through the same process.
Yes.
You have to fill out a form. You have to give documents. You have to give your salary certificate. You need to give this. You need to give that. All of that information sits with the government.
Or Google.
Obviously, you don't want to do verifications based on open data available, because there's a lot of fake and disinformation. But if you're working in Dubai or UAE, you will have 2 contracts, one with the employer and one through the labor contract. Right?
Yes.
So that information is there.
Yes.
It has exactly, provided both are very synced, like whatever you have truly as a contract with your employee, which is allowed. This is a legal structure.
Yes.
But anyone wants to verify my salary, why do they need to go to my employer? And all we need to make sure is that labor contract is done in such a way that if it's important for verification of salary, then it's done in such a way that employers, every time there's a salary change, it's integrated in such a way that when you change the salary over here in the employee system, it actually updates it over there. So KYC is happening based on the legal platform of the government itself. Address is the same thing. If you make it compulsory for you to have given your address, which is the case, why do they ask for, for example, many times banks are asking for 2 different documents, your Emirates ID and your passport and your visa. Why? So why question is not being answered. They're not asking, why do I need these documents? Why do I need to do ABCD? So we have shifted a lot, of course, in UAE from document-based to digital or electronic. But we have carried with us, unfortunately, a lot of the legacy processes that we had before versus reimagining for the digital age we're living in today. And that requires what you said in the beginning, a macro level thinking, a strategic mindset shift, which is reimagining. And it's about continuously reimagining, because the world doesn't stay still. Yeah.
I'm conscious of time, but I would love to spend a few minutes with you on your entrepreneurial journey as well. And I'd like to take you back to your story of deciding or realizing that you could write a book, because it started with an important skill I feel which entrepreneurs need to learn as well, which was the thought of the day idea. And essentially that was you reflecting on things that you were thinking about. And reflection is a very key skill, right, for any entrepreneur to be able to develop. And I feel effective reflection only happens when you actually write about it. you're able to put things
Very
down
true.
and structure. Uh, and it helps entrepreneurs, it helps professionals, and it's something that is acquired as a skill. Probably you're naturally not inclined to think, you're inclined to assume more than uh, uh, you know write about it and frame it, I would say. Uh, how did you go about, how did that help you? Because even becoming an author was an entrepreneurial endeavor in a way. There were things to figure out. It was not just about writing. It's producing, printing, distributing. Did you think of all of that before you went into it, or?
No, to be honest, when I started on the journey of writing the book, it was, as I explained earlier, it was not a intended journey in the
Mm,
beginning, and it became. And I would say that it's been a tremendous learning experience as well.
mm,
Writing hard, but it's the beginning part.
mm,
If you have produced a book, then getting it in the hands of people
mm.
itself is a whole
Yes.
understanding the system and journey. And I'm still learning and discovering how do you do that. What is the right model? What's the right concept around getting something like this into hands of people? The distribution of it.
Mm,
How do you do that? It's been a whole new journey for me. So unless you are entrepreneurial in your mindset and you're willing to explore and learn, it becomes a great exercise that you will get to the printing part of it and you'll sit on your shelf,
mm,
but there will be no distribution, because you need to understand how does the whole um, system work and what techniques you need to play with to enable it to get from it being physically produced to actually being distributed. And it's like with any business, right? So it's no different. And we'll talk about the startup as well, and the same principles are being applied.
yes.
You designing and developing something,
Mm,
whilst has its own challenges and learnings, the true uh, challenge is actually learning how to acquire customers.
mm.
And many businesses fail on the acquisition part. You've created something really amazing, but you have no users. There's no point
True.
of that.
True. And I mean, I'm very excited to hear about your endeavor into the startup space as well. You're currently in the process of developing the product, I would say. Have been.
We are slightly ahead from that now. So that again, just to give you some context, it was connected back to this purpose of wanting to make a difference in people's lives.
Mm,
So one day, sitting with my sister, who is actually from the profession
mm,
of what the product is about,
mm,
and we're talking about different things, and she was sharing some ideas of, I think I want to do this. How do I, further enhance what I do? And I said, well, that's not scalable.
yeah.
And for her, the word even is scalable. She said, well, what does that mean? So, well, then I started explaining, that if we look at this from a lens of, again, reimagine, what problem are we looking to solve for? Let's get to the heart of that.
Mm,
And then let's see how we can solve that problem
mm,
through what mechanisms.
mm,
So we started talking about, we want to make a difference in the life of youths, because if we can enable youth to become more, let's say, build capabilities and strengths around emotional well-being and understanding the mind, and understanding what are the causes and reasons for why you may feel in a certain way
mm,
in your life at a very early on in their age, many of the challenges they face later on where they need to get professional help
mm,
may not happen. So we say, okay, maybe that's the place where we need to start. Let's start with how do we enable youth to become resilient and build capabilities
Mm.
to deal with life. And then we say, okay, how do we now look at the world? Because is it about a few people? Is it about a country? Or is it about a mission, some purpose? So we came to the conclusion that we want to really make a difference, but we want it to be a social enterprise, but that is commercially viable.
Yes.
So it is not just about uh, doing something for social cause and it cannot be sustained, because I've seen many challenges with NGOs and other initiatives which they died because there was no financial viability of it.
Mm.
So how can we make this driven as a social enterprise that is commercially viable
Mm.
and scalable and can make a difference in people's lives?
Yes.
And my sister had thought of even the name. She had
It was a beautiful name. I love the name.
Simply Human.
Yes.
Was basically, then it stuck. We thought about other things and we said, no, this is just so beautiful.
Yes.
Let's stay with this. So its purpose, or you can say that is driving, is about nourishing the emotional well-being of youth. That's our purpose as an organization. And the way we want to do that is by looking at two different dimensions. One is the dimension of what things can we do that will build awareness, understanding, and capabilities to deal with challenges in life and deal with things that will create emotional well-being. So it's all about education, you can say, in a way, and building some habits, some behaviors, right? The second part is to be able to be there as a support, as a helping hand when there is a challenge that comes in your life. And I use an example to bring both of these to life. Let's say low self-esteem is one of the challenges that
the youth faces.
In the first part, we want that they understand what this is, why it's happening, what's the scientific reasoning for this, and to be building some habits that will potentially stop this from even happening, because you build certain habits, and reflection is one of them, which you talked about, is a core element in there. But let's say now it has become a challenge, even though they had built the capabilities and awareness, etc. Still it happened, because we're human beings at the end of the day. Then there should be some support available that will help you deal with that situation. So these are the two dimensions. And these two dimensions are being addressed through three different kinds of interventions. One is self-help on both sides. How can you build your own capability? How can you yourself deal with low self-esteem? Community-based help. How can we bring communities together, people together, to support each other, to build capabilities and awareness? And how can we bring communities together to help you if, for example, you are one of the people that is having lower self-esteem? So collectively, all the people who are having lower self-esteem, learning and helping each other.
I think that would be very strong.
And the third intervention being professional-based. How do we then give you professional help, therapists, counselors, and those kind of helps, either on both sides, So that's basically, in a nutshell, how we are looking at this. And then in terms of where we are, is what you were saying as a question, we've got the first, what we call the minimal viable product in the Apple Store and in Google Play.
Oh, amazing.
Which is being now used and tested. And we are in that phase where we are trying to learn from what the users are telling us and giving us feedback on. And of course, we are also using analytics to see the behavior of how people are using, where they're spending more time, and see how we can evolve this. One core thing that is the differentiator, I would say, for us, we want this product, and this product is by the youth, for the youth.
Mm.
So from the beginning, we ensured that we brought into the thinking process the target audience, the youth who are going to be the users. The whole design stage, the whole conceptualizing stage, the whole development stage, all of that has been a big role for them to play. Not
Great.
as big as I would have liked it to be, but now that we have moved into this phase of acquiring users
Mm.
and we are starting to get a good quantum of users, we can now go more towards this by the youth for the youth. It doesn't mean the product can't be used by you and I and others, but the primary target is them. I hope that
I think
gives you an idea.
that's a great endeavor क्योंकि at the moment in the age that we're in with AI, with social media, with all of this going around, the biggest problem that any individual faces is loneliness as well. And I think that the way you've structured it to have different layers, self help, because yes, you need that to reflect in one way or the other. B, you have the access to community of probably people who are going through or have gone through similar things, and that helps,
Yeah.
And then the access to professional help, if you really are at that stage,
Yeah.
I think that definitely will create a huge impact. And all it's doing is providing access. These things
100%.
are available.
And maybe I'll share where we are in terms of what things have been enabled, because it's a long journey for any startup. It's always going to be, it's a never-ending journey, right? What we've been able to do is get 3 core elements into the product at this stage. Number one is you being able to track your mood, record your mood. So how do I feel? And not just record, reflect on it. So you can pick, for example, I'm sad, and then write why you're sad. And so that that content will stay with you. It is anonymous. It's your content. We don't get to see it, and it's absolutely safe and protected from that perspective. But over a period of time, you will be able to do your own analytics on top of that for yourself to show how often have you been happy or sad, and the reasons for that, the common themes can start to come out as you learn about yourself. So that's one part of it, which is mood tracking, mood setting and tracking. The second is journaling, being able to unburden yourself, write down things.
Great.
And beyond even writing, so we have integrated into it as well that you can record. We will have other means of also in the future that you can basically journal and put down what you want to put down as your thoughts. And the third thing is goal setting. Set a goal and trying to achieve that goal. And when you achieve that goal, again, reflect on it. Why? Was it difficult? Was it easy? What did you learn from trying to achieve this goal? And then there are some what we call affirmations, which we at the moment push through to for you on a daily basis. But that as well in time will become more driven by your choices, your setting. Now in each one of these, and independently as well through the product, you can actually trigger off a conversation with an AI guide.
Very nice.
And we have created 4 different kinds of them. Depending on the mood you select, for example, it will give you an option to then have a chat with that kind of guide that will maybe perk you up, or it may become more of a listener for you. And it's triggered off and it's given as an option to you when you set your mood, whether you want to have a conversation with a guide about this, or when you're journaling.
So the AI has a persona as well.
It has a persona as well. So, and that will be something we will evolve as we go along. And independently, you can also trigger it off. But the most powerful thing is what I said is the kind of insights about yourself. So right now we have a simplified dashboard of yourself and showing in one page, how often, how many journaling have you done? What's been your streaks? What's been your affirmations that you selected and liked? And what's been the goals you have set? How many goals have you set? How many have you achieved? And importantly, the mood itself. what percentage of time are you happy, sad, etc. And this will then build on with the actual users of this. We want them to continue to evolve this.
Very fascinating to hear, very fascinating to learn about that. Thank you so much for your time. We could have spoken for another hour easily, but we wish you all the best, and thank you for giving your time to Hub 47. And we hope that you stay connected, stay involved as well.
Thank you. It's my pleasure, and thank you very much for inviting me. And really, it's a great initiative that you guys have going on over here. And I wish you all the best and continued success. And if there's any way in which I can be of help, always available to support.
Thank you.
Thank you.